Hi guys, welcome back to Daily Dreamer. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me today for a dream. Let's just go ahead and get started, okay? So I wake up, come to, and I am inside a house, and there is an elderly gentleman, and he's sitting at a table. He appears to be working on a masterpiece or something. I don't know, like a puzzle. I get over to see if I can help him. He's a bit frustrated, he's a bit agitated, and he complains. And I said, what's going on? This looks absolutely beautiful. You only need a couple more pieces to finish the puzzle. And he says, I can't find my last piece. And I said, well, here, let me help you. And he tosses me a key and he says, no, don't help me. He goes, if you want to help, go see if you can fix what's going on downstairs. I was like, okay, well, what's going on downstairs? And he says, I don't know, but it's awfully hot in here. So I take the key, I go over downstairs, and I see my participating self now downstairs, knee deep in what appears to be a heater. Now, I don't know if she's the reason why the heater broke, but I do know that it doesn't appear like she knew what she was doing because she had pieces everywhere. And she is herself sweating and getting frustrated. At one point, I'm watching her, and she just finally gives up. And I had to actually convince her, no, stay. You're here for a reason. You said you'd help them, so put the pieces at least back together. So she gets frustrated. She struggles with herself to see if she actually has the patience to finish it. At one point, the heat must have gotten too intense for everybody because upstairs now we hear voices and they're yelling, they're screaming, they're arguing, they're fighting. They're just going nuts up there. She continues to try to do what she can do, and I'm just watching. At one point, the elderly gentleman comes downstairs and he's carrying this bucket. This bucket has water in it and it's got crabs in it. And she says, what are you doing with that? And he says, here, it's for you to help. She says, that's not going to help me. And he says, yes, it is. And he takes it and he throws it at the heater. Well, the heater must have been so hot because all it did was take the water that was splashed onto it and instantly transform it into steam. So it just completely rose above. But as he did that, and we all stared at the steam, I was actually in awe. Then we are distracted by the crabs that are now scurrying everywhere and yet nowhere at once on the ground. And she says, oh, great, what a fine mess. And he smiles and he starts to go back upstairs and he says, it's okay. It's what they wanted. And okay, what does that mean? I don't know. Because at that point I was whisked back to consciousness. So let's go find out what that dream may have meant, shall we? Okay, so what on earth did that dream mean? All right, guys, so what happens when people don't care about each other here, right? A pressure cooker happens. That's what happens. We start boiling over with stress, with despair, with mistrust, with rage. I mean, that's why you have loneliness, drug addictions. We have depression, anger, anxiety. You know, we have been taught everywhere to see everyone as rivals, everywhere and in everything, whether it be at work, in life, at play. You know, we see those effects playing out today. I mean, we have a world completely full of chaos and disorder right now. People are forever pulling each other down instead of actually lifting each other up. This world cannot honestly keep functioning this way without some sort of catastrophic endings that are going to be happening. You know, there are two ways that people actually compete. They do it by either pulling themselves up or they do it by dragging others down. I mean, now, which one, of course, is less costly? Which one is easiest? Which one requires less effort, time, imagination? Which one is using brutality, muscle, cunning actions? Well, obviously, it's pulling others down. You can pull people down simply with just a quick, simple tug, or you can punch them and bring them down. It's just that easy. But lifting yourself up, geez, well, now you got to fight gravity. Now you have to find a foothold. Now you have to look up and be blinded by the sun, heaven forbid. In other words, you have to have empathy. You have to have compassion, grace, courage, strength, you know. So we find that it's much easier to end up pulling people down. It's like the crabs in the proverbial bucket. Each one is trying to escape, but no one seems to be going anywhere now, do they? When life becomes a competition and rivalry, the result is that relationships get blown apart. They erode. The normal decency and humanity, well, now it just produces a very cruel atmosphere. That's all it does. And nothing can really actually truly function in such a cruel society. Not even basic things like democracy, society, or economy. Democracy, it does not depend on rivalry. It depends on a sense of cooperation of people standing together. But because life is rivalry, the only people that are standing together now, it seems like, are the extremists. Society doesn't depend on rivalry either. It depends on people crafting a very fair and expansive social contract because it is supposed to provide everyone some minimum of a well-being. Otherwise, society is by definition considered broken. Economy, it doesn't depend on rivalry either. It depends on people being able to work together for each other's, for the real human benefit. It requires us to be able to work together on things that are of genuine worth, accomplishments that actually matter, genuinely transformative ways for ourselves. You know, we don't have the raw materials in here to be able to actually sit there and elevate human lives out there. You know, we're talking things such as, concern, passion, imagination. We're talking empathy, creativity, authenticity. We don't have trust. We don't have beauty. We don't have truth. It's all been replaced with a life of anger, rage, and greed. So what does a life of anger and rage look like? What does intense, bitter rivalry feel like? Well, it means that everyone right now in your life is an adversary, an opponent, or an enemy, though they might actually be disguised for you as your colleague or your peer or your coworker or your classmate. They're just simply your rivalries. So I guess you don't really have friends now, do you? We'll call them frenemies. You don't really do any work of service, do you? Because your primary goal here, you're taught to compete. They have us measuring ourselves by how many people that we have defeated, overran, or thrown down, or cut down with our words. We don't measure by how meaningful and rich and worthwhile our lives are. A life of conflict is full of stress, pressure, fear, and misery. And in this state, when we are in this state all the time, one can quickly become paranoid, fragile, bitter, even toxic. And how sad and how terrible is that? But yet we see it and we live it each and every day. To be cunning, ruthless, and deceitful, well, it's always going to be easier than compassionate, gentle, courageous, and strong. Of course it is. But are we allowing ourselves to be that weak because we're lazy or because we just don't know how? See, none of that even, though, is the real tragedy here. The real tragedy is that we can't stop for just 1 second to see how we can actually help heal and lift each other out of all this madness. That's what's truly sad. You know what this planet is missing? Divine feminine energy. Being the change that you wish to see in this world, it has a yin and a yang, a passive and an active component to it. In order to collectively elevate Earth, you have to understand how important the role of the female energy is in all of this. The presence of this energy has been completely absent here from the equation on Earth, and you can tell that. All you got to do is look around. Okay? So let me tell you just a little bit about what female energy is. Okay? Her power is the power of the circle. Her power is all-encompassing. She is the circle. She is chaos and order. She is form and formless all at once. She is non-linear. And because of that, she is truly magical. She is the stillness that gives birth to motion. The female energy is here, and it's here to activate our hearts to rise up in balance with the masculine energy that's been here running rampant for a while. The masculine energy, it is known as logic, action, willpower, focus, boundaries, intellect, linear stuff. The female energy is intuition, nurturing, compassion, emotions, receptivity, nonlinear. But there has to be a harmony between these two forces on an individual level first. This has to happen in order for it to be able to be a living reality on Earth, okay? And thankfully, with people awakening each and every day, we can actually see that we're truly headed in this direction, which is wonderful because Lord knows we need it. We have actually seen the extent of what a world looks like that is out of balance, and we have felt the extent of what our actions do without our hearts involved, okay? When the male and the female forces inside us synthesize together, your heart with your logic, this creates a very heart-centered consciousness. And this is where we are living hearts in action. Okay, we have been, I don't know for how long, we have been intrinsically trained to value what goes on the outside. We've been taught that material items are where it's at. Go buy, work, buy. But none of us, we pay very little attention to the power here that gives birth to form. Okay, we go forward on our journeys as far as the outside can take us until we actually realize that the external out there is a projection. It's just a projection of the condition of the collective psyche. And eventually, we will come to understand that by placing our sole emphasis on changing the outside and only focusing on changing the outside, well, you're going to find out something. It's really only going to rearrange different versions of the same circumstances that we face each and every day. Nothing will ever truly change out there, okay? If the change and the intent to change Earth is there, then we have to be the change that we wish to see in all aspects. Without internal change, we cannot complete the transformation of the individual, much less the collective. So if you want out there to change, tune in here. You got to change here first, okay? When we come from a mind frame of reactivity in the world, we are already energetically braced in a stalemate with the state of the world out there. No one's going to win, okay? If you're reacting. Our ability to transform the outside is completely weakened when we become a slave to reacting to it. What we need is an energy alteration, okay? The alteration that is only going to strictly come through here first. It's the change in the individual. The alteration is known as true love. True love is being able to be present with ourselves at our darkest hour. It is about learning how to sit within ourselves, no matter what we are going through. We have to fully embrace ourselves in that state consistently and unwaveringly without any conditions attached. When we surrender ourselves fully, we are sending signals to our heart that we are its keepers, that we are safe to be ourselves, and that our hearts are able to stay open. With daily practice, sitting with ourselves, what that does is it expands our heart's energy field. And that alone is going to set off an energetic chain reaction in our surrounding environment. And you will feel it. We will begin to generate and share a new coding with the world, one of self-love, one of connection, one of care. But that love has to be created from within first. It can't be bargained with the outside. You'll never find it there. So stop looking, guys. Be the change that you want to see in this world. Being the change that you want to see in this world has very many forms of expressions. Sometimes it can be just as simple as, I don't know, giving someone else the very same act of kindness that you haven't even yet received yourself. I mean, it's just that simple. Instead of waiting for the world to always meet us where we're at, now it reverses the order and it allows us to meet the world where it's at. Okay, offering at a very conscious level new experiences that have yet to even be offered. And that's a good thing because now we're changing things. We're seeing that change. We're being that change. Tuning in for 5 minutes a day and changing yourself. You've already started changing the world. You will find that by doing so and tuning in for 5 minutes a day, guys, that you are going to find that that is going to be your foundational puzzle piece to being able to heal and change humanity and Earth for a better world and a better reality. Till next stream, guys, Many blessings to you and sweet dreams.